Well, tonight's a very different night for this podcast because we usually do this in the morning, but we have decided, because Jonathan and I have both been very busy recently, we have been meeting to do this podcast. Sometimes you have to meet at weird hours because we have weird schedules, and they're never, working in this industry, your schedule is never quite cyclical. It's never back to back. It's never, consistent. And if it is consistent, then good on you. You got a good job, probably a good show or drama or something. But no, tonight we are, and I'm not sick. I just smoked a bowl of weed. No, tonight and I just want to say, Jonathan, made a dinner, and it's still in my, it's still inside me. And it was chicken. It was very, very good. Jonathan
Brandon has not pooped yet. It's definitely in there.
It's in me. And Jonathan, it was great. Tell them just. I know this is off topic, but okay. I just want them to hear this florid description of how the succulent juices. He described his whole method of cooking it.
So first off, you got to get yourself a cast iron pan. That's number one.
Cast iron. Why is that important?
This allows you to sear something, get it crispy and delicious, and then put it in the pan or in the oven for the rest of the baking process. And it's in the same pan, so you got all the same juices.
It's just marinating.
Yeah. And so what we got there is like we separate the skin of the chicken. We get our fingers in there. It's kind of a fun process. You just jam your fingers in between the meat.
Jonathan's doing a little demonstration here where one of his hands is pretending to be a chicken skin, and the other hand's kind of going underneath it. So you're going underneath the skin and the meat, right? Yeah. You're getting in there, and you're jamming all kinds of butter and herbs and shit.
Yeah, first you just clear off the fascia, and then you take a handful of seasoned butter with lemon zest, and you shove that in there, and you smoosh it around so that you got a nice layer of butter on top. And that seeps in the juice. I mean, I could go on. It's really...
It's as good as it sounds, guys. It smells amazing. It tastes even better. And not a single dry bite on that chicken is the most juicy thing. Anyways, just want to let you know, we are going into this podcast in a great mood. We got some great marijuana, and I had a great chicken. And guys, and I'm sipping on a wonderful, lovely lime beverage. Now, today I want to talk about something I'm very passionate about. Yeah. I'm sure many people listening, if not just about everyone, I'm sure... has either heard of or seen or is familiar with, at the very least, Blame the Hero, which is a 7-part series that I started doing really at the beginning of this year. Yeah. And it's been a great culmination. Is that the
I'm a big fan.
Well, Jonathan, I'm a big fan as well. And I say that objectively, besides it being a show that I'm a part of. I think it's fun. But I think it's been a great mixture of everyone that I enjoy working with. It's been a good reason to work with just all the familiar, the actors that we work with. It's always great to keep it in the family. It's also great to find new faces that fit well within that family. And I think in this series we've done that.
I feel like everyone gets to play to their strength here and just like have a lot of fun very naturally in the story.
What I find fascinating is how, while in a series, in a good series, or at least what I try to do with this show is have a character or characters that have a point A and a point B, and they kind of go from beginning to end. David Mamet, I took his master class, and he says that, pretty much the definition of a good character, or just the essentials of the hero's journey, is just a point A, point B. And I think that Blame the Hero was a good collection of characters and having them have a point A and point B. But furthermore, I feel like
very naturally playing in your sense of humor and sensibilities, and with your characters who are like, you have so many different diverse characters, and they all get to pop in and have have their moments.
Yeah, it is nice to see them live in their little moments every now and then, because it really just isn't. Blame the Hero is not just a show about blame. It's really a show about this collective 5 or 6 characters, and this one character of blame ties them all together. But the show is really kind of an ensemble series about different people wanting different things, and then the show ends, and either they get those things, or some of them don't get those things, and we see sort of what that means for their future. But what I was going to say, what's fascinating about this is that there are the parallels. Like, I feel like a lot of the people who have been on this project since day one, we have learned and have taken away so much from this project here at our kind of, you could say, our point B. Next week's our last week shooting this. So, in hindsight, or almost near hindsight, there's a lot of stuff that I've learned, kind of like the characters in it. There's a lot of stuff I'm taking away from this. There's a lot of new resources and actors that I've met through this project. And, I'm coming out the other side of it. And I think a lot of people, a lot of the crew involved, Morgan, Roger, Joe Volpis, Sujan Chase, the whole family. I only work with the best. And I think that, we've all kind of learned either methods or tactics. We're all kind of hungry to work on something new, in a sense that we've learned so much from Blame the Hero. At this point, it's now just a story that we've committed to months ago that we've just been shooting and shooting and shooting. And now that it's almost over, it's like we can use these new elements and work on other interesting things. That being said, this project has been, in all honesty, the second project I've ever fully completed, I think. Next to Stuff and Sam, because this is the second finale I've ever shot. Like, this is the second, because the first, I remember the Stuff and Sam finale was so important to me because I've never filmed a last episode of anything before.
Right.
So that meant a lot. So now here I am about a year later, a little over a year. And I'm shooting the last episode of Blame the Hero, and it just feels good to have another one fully in the bag. To have another one that's like fully we're done.
And it's a process. I mean, that's an interesting journey for you.
When this episode comes out, we will have about 2 days left, I think, of shooting, and.
You got it. It's all there. No spoilers. No spoilers here. But
the
it's all ready.
Well, let me put it this way: I have a lot that's not in the final cut still, and right now the final cut is around. It's at least 10 or 11 minutes long, and there's a good solid. I want to say the episode's probably going to be closer to 20 minutes long, and I'm really excited to release it because. I read, anytime I mention it on Instagram, I read the comments and I see what people say, that they have predictions about how certain things end with some of the characters, or that they're as involved with it as a show that I would be when I live, just even now. I shouldn't say when I live back home in Livermore, but that's true as well. Pretty much whenever any time in my life when I've been obsessed with a show, I see that same excitement from these fans, and it's cool because I know what that feels like to be hooked on what's going to happen next. I know that feeling. Now to be on the other side of that and to be working on a series where I get to pull the strings and I get to determine how suspenseful, or how when the last episode drops, it feels so cool, and it feels like I'm like Stan Lee and Seth MacFarlane and all these like other people that I look up to, just combined. The people who create universes and like to and then sort of play to the strengths of those universes that they create. I didn't realize that Blame would be such a character I would get attached to. I hated Blame when I first made him.
I kind of remember that.
We were at VidCon. It was at VidCon, and we were at. I forget what day. I forget if you were there that year.
No, I wasn't there when the first one came out, but I remember, loving Blame. Blame was like my favorite character that you'd ever come up with, I feel. But I remember right after that, you were like kind of not sure about it. And
I was very not sure. I almost didn't even upload the video.
Amazing.
Well, because he's a character that, unlike my other characters, I don't really relate to Blame at all. There's a piece of me in almost every character except Blame. And Blame, I have zero crossover with. I've never been like him. I've never been like a piece of him. I think the only thing that I have in common with him as a person is that we both smoke weed. But Blame is a very, very he's a very angry, very homophobic, very pompously prideful. Kind of he's a thug, but like a very overamped version of like the worst, most ignorant and angry thug you could think of. And I just don't. I went to school with a lot of people like him. Here in Los Angeles, there are obviously like Blame is a very common kind of a character out here. People, there's people who even like wear the hood and the hat, and it's a very the look and the style of the character doesn't come from nowhere, but it's definitely just not someone that I've ever been in my life. and most of the characters,
you're not someone to act tough that much.
right. And Blame is tough all the time.
No offense.
No. I am not. I lean into my typecast very heavily. I'm not. I certainly am not known for my strength. No, but I don't. So I don't relate with him. But all the other characters, there's an element to them that I relate to. You know. Jurgen, for instance, you know, he's fabulous. I've felt fabulous before, but he's blind. He doesn't realize what a fool he is. And even Jurgen, I kind of relate to, like, sometimes if I feel fabulous, but I just see photos later and I'm like, oh, that's what I look like. See, every character I have, there's an element to them where I'm like, I've been part of you at one point. I kind of can think like you. Blame, I've never.
Well, say no more on that because I have more questions.
Oh yeah,
about. Yeah. How you identify with characters later.
But yeah, Blame, just is probably my. He was my least favorite character when I started the series, and I did the series because I knew he was my most applicable to any random situation type character. Blame was kind of a blank slate.
Right, he seems very ready to like jump in and have to do some shit.
Jump into any scenario. You throw him into anything, and he just accepts it for what it is. Blame doesn't. He's just an easy character to throw into adventures. Kind of like Sam, which is why the reason I chose Sam to do a series, the same reason I chose Blame. You just throw him in any situation. That doesn't mean I care for the character very much, or at least at the time. Now I've kind of have this bittersweet feeling that I'm sort of shelving him again. You know? And
I mean, you use him well.
Right.
I feel that.
I feel like this series definitely, I did all the things I wanted to do with the character. I wanted him to, like, still be heartless over halfway through, so I had him, like, steal a car from a mother and her child, you know, and I still wanted him to seem like and I didn't want to, my biggest fear was when I started the series is that, toward the end, I don't want to make him such a lovable character that he's no longer a thug. Even toward the end, we still have to remember he's a thug and he kills people. And I think that's why it's like Michael Scott to a different level, because even though he's a racist or sexist, you know, character, there's still a lovable aspect. With Blame, I wanted to pull that even further and make him just a really, he's just a thug. We go into the story knowing that our hero, is cheats and kills and has drug problems. And he's like,
you know what's funny is I'm kind of thinking about it. Like Sam is like. Similar to Blame, and for good reason. He was a bit of a father figure for just a brief moment. But also is like Sam, he's still endearing, but he has the sneaky side too. Like he also steals from people, but is just like the more presentable face.
Yeah,
in a way.
Yeah, I like that. You know, Sam is one that I can definitely relate to, and I think that.
But I mean, all your characters have something that you relate to and love, genuinely human, and then they're also horrible people.
You know, actually, my views on the Blame type of character have changed since I created the character, because I created the character Blame, I want to say it was like 2 or 3 years ago. In that time, I've made a lot of friends who are like LA locals who are pretty much very similar to Blame. And like, I don't know, I feel like people, like the Blames of society aren't as horrendous as I think I've painted them up to be when I created the character. I think
there it is.
I think I've kind of come to, and I don't know, or I also think that maybe because I'm playing him so much right now, that whenever I do meet like an Uber driver who looks and acts like Blame, or I meet someone on the street who looks and acts like Blame, I'm wondering now if I'm a little bit more fascinated and therefore a bit more compassionate with my opinion of them, because I am playing a character so similar that when I see them now, they stand out in a different way that I'm not as threatened by. I don't know what it is, but I feel either like I relate to the character or who the character is portraying a little more now than I did before. And to the point where like I do feel sad that I'm not going to play him anymore. Now that being said, I am very excited for like all the new, because I've just throughout the series been cooking up ideas for new characters that I can't wait to dive into.
That's true.
That's another.
That's true.
That is for another time. But yeah, it's like I'm done playing with one toy, or I'm almost done with one video game or one book, and now it's like time to start another one. And,
right.
Yeah.
Well, question for you. So. As Blame has gone on, you've kind of identified more and more with him. Who of the other characters have you discovered that you identify maybe more with, or on a new level than you previously thought before the series?
Before the series?
Yeah. Like, who do you connect with in a different way now that this series has occurred? No spoilers.
No spoilers.
I'm just going to say that periodically.
Right.
when you're talking mostly.
I think. Oh, what was that? That came out of my mouth.
Just know it's from Brandon's mouth.
That was from my mouth.
Yeah.
God, I don't know. I mean, Elmer a little bit, because I think we kind of made him a little bit less than a robot in this one. But I think that all of the characters pretty much have followed a storyline that I had in mind for them a very long time ago. So for some reason, yeah, they haven't. Blame is the only one that really feels like a changed opinion in my mind. I still feel the same about my other characters, and I still relate to them just much. The Mingeworthies are another one that I don't really like. I don't really relate to that character at all. Kind of because it's like what is he even based off of? I think he's
like, are those people really British?
Well, yeah. Well, in the first one, it's established they're Americans that are posing as British. Right. So I've just always kind of moved forward with them with that in mind. You know, they are the American depiction of what they think British people are, and they play it so authentically that it's their entire identity. But I think what I base that character off of is sort of all of those like movies we'd have to watch in history class where they would have like British soldiers in them, and they were always very like proper and also aggressive, and it was just I don't know. I think I just. He's a mix of that and like a mix of Nigel Thornberry, and he's a mix of like just anything British and over the like Austin Powers almost, which is already not British.
Yeah.
It's Mike Myers.
No, the perfect example.
But he's just a mix of all the offensive stereotypes of British people. And then of course Bryce. I
mean, I had an experience with Bryce.
You
know, I mean, like you can see a little bit of it in CEO Hates Valentine's Day, but that was, I mean, that's a great episode.
She's a character that I think growing up as a '90s kid, I've always kind of admired sort of the villainous corporate woman who like for instance Casper the Friendly. Remember the Casper movie? What's her name? Carol Crittenden. I can't remember her name.
Christina.
Well, no, but the villain in that movie, she was this woman in shoulder pads, and she's basically like the CEO. And then, of course, what's another 90s, or the 90s 101 Dalmatians? You got Glenn Close coming into this office building with her shoulder pads and her evil strut. I felt like in the 90s there was a lot of like corporate villainesses.
The powerful women.
The powerful
villains.
Women. Right. Well, but they're always the scene stealers though. And I would be doing my wardrobe of characters a disservice if I didn't add that personality to my repertoire, because that, even though I've never been that entity, it's certainly one that I understand very well, and like I've always kind of looked up to when I was a kid, are just those women that are very powerful and corporate. And I think her voice is kind of a little mix between Lindsay Naegle from The Simpsons and sort of that transatlantic 1940s. Yes, and I'll take another cigar, see? And, you know, and she came together very quickly. She came together overnight almost. I remember when we were shooting it, just like I had the idea either a day or two before. And at the time we worked at a law firm. So it was like, and we had a very...
So all day while working at a law firm, I was able to not work at the law firm and instead concoct character ideas.
We did it on a Saturday. My boss gave me the key to the office, and we just came in on a Saturday and just shot it because it looked like a corporate office, and the character's the CEO. So it was like, oh, it's perfect. It's her setting. And then she just came together overnight. Other characters have taken, like Bobby Worst, who we paint as the false villain in the first half of season 1. He was a character that I came up with a long time ago when I was in college. I don't know how I came up with him, but my friend Katie Johnson and I were on a speech team, and we traveled the country together, and we come up with these fictitious characters and write stories about them, or come up with, I don't know why we came up with these characters, but we said, wouldn't it be funny if there was a brother and sister who were lovers, and they were evil, and they were also queer, and they fucked everything, and they wore like latex, and they were like, I don't know how the characters kind of came about.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
But like, what if they were just rancid, horrible people? And so then we had Mr. and Mrs. Worst. They were a couple, and I tried getting her out here for the first time we did the villain one, and it just didn't work. We still are planning on having and introducing Mrs. Worst at some point, but
I said no spoilers.
Right. At some I don't know.
But teasers are allowed. Nice.
But
nice.
But Bobby Worst came from that, and I called her before I did the video, and I asked, or before we even shot it, and I asked if it was okay if we did that, and she gave me her consent.
Y'all hear that?
Yeah.
Brandon says we got consent.
Consent. I even asked her permission. I even asked her permission for the Blame the Hero plot. And I even told her. I told her up front, even before we shot the first episode. I told her, so I want to bring in Bobby Wurst, and this is what's going to happen to him, and this, and this. I think she's waiting till all 7 episodes come out to watch it. I have a lot of friends who are waiting for all 7 episodes to come out to watch it. So June 30th, which if you're listening to this, that should be a week from today, or if you're listening to it presumably on the day that it came out. But anyways, June 30th, is when we're dropping that episode, and that's gonna be so much off my memory cards.
You're almost there. You're almost there.
All my drives and my memory cards and my backup, this and that, everything's so fucking full of data. I barely have enough space to edit the rest of the episode on my computer. Once the series is done, I'm throwing it all in one drive and wiping everything.
And those hard drives are going in the trash.
I'm burning them. Yeah, right. No, I have so much. I've been saving all of the raw footage and audio.
That's hilarious. It's like obviously a lot of mental space, but literally the physical space then occupies mental space. You're like, I have anxiety about how much data I'm trying to preserve in various places in organized ways.
Right, and my computer reminds me as it gets lower and lower. It's like, well, you have 10 gigabytes left. It's like,
are you sure you don't want to delete a bunch of stuff? And you're like, oh fuck.
Right, it just starts ticking.
I duplicated something, but was it this? Was it that?
Yeah, your disk space is getting a little low. Or full. I fucking hate that alert. Because it's like, your creativity, slow it down.
Yeah.
You got too much going on.
I wouldn't export anything else. Wouldn't cut anything else either.
But I just need a better laptop. I mean, my laptop is already, 2 years old, so it's basically obsolete.
Can we get Brandon a better laptop, please? Shout out.
Oh, but I love my laptop. I'm afraid to get a new laptop because I'm afraid of what new iMovie might be on. Unless iMovie, does it automatically update?
I don't know.
Anyways, I use iMovie for those of you who don't know, I use iMovie for everything. This whole Blame the Hero. Actually, I want to just say something, and I don't know why I'm saying this. I'm trying. It's like humble brag here, but fuck, I've been using Premiere quite a bit lately for Blame the Hero. I've been doing a lot of the VFX work,
nice.
And that has been a very rewarding process. Every time I open up Premiere, because I only use Premiere for the VFX shots,
right?
And every time I open Premiere now, it's a fucking treat. Like, I learn it more and more. Like, every time I open it, I understand it more. I get things done quicker. And now I'm doing VFX shots that if I saw them at the beginning of Blame the Hero, I would think, wow, how much did he pay him to do that? They're not amazing, but they also don't look horrible either. And
that's pretty good. I think we should put our endorsement of iMovie on hold for a bit.
No, but seriously, everything else I do edit on iMovie, and oh my god, it's so. Oh, sorry. I mean, they're shit. No, no. No, I don't know if I've used it because I'm lazy or just because I'm stubborn and don't want to learn a new software. I guess that's still lazy. I don't know. Yeah. I think I'm lazy.
but also, you know, like this is going to work for so many of the things that you need to do, and you export what you don't. So
well, I've been learning. I've been learning Premiere slowly more and more out of necessity. Because it's like, well, I have to get this shot where this person's whatever explodes, and so it's like, well, I can either, hire
someone for $3,000,
and then wait for 3 days to get the shot back, or however long,
I can learn,
or I can learn. I could watch a YouTube tutorial and just swallow my pride and just take the effort to learn just this part of it. Right. I don't need to learn all of how Premiere works. I just need to learn how to do this one thing to get this effect on. Great, so now I know how to do that. Then, let's say a few days later, I have this other VFX shot. Oh, now I need to learn this. So every time I open Premiere, I'm learning it more and more because I have different things I'm doing with it.
See, I think that's just, we've talked a little bit about this, but it's just like the act of trying to make what you want to make and just doing what you want to do. Like, you learn it all naturally. You get better and better. Better and better. I
agree.
And better each time.
That repetition, right?
And that's even true for you with a new program while editing these videos that you have a ton of experience with, but you're still learning. That's great. I just always think that's a great lesson whenever I put in touch with it.
I learned that a lot was different once things really changed once I looked at it differently. I'm a pro at fucking Photoshop. Like Photoshop I've done since I was in like middle school. I've always been very, very well versed in Photoshop. Mm-hmm. I'm an idiot. I didn't think that Photoshop and Premiere are both Adobe suites, the suite softwares. And so I was like, oh, they essentially, I know. And then I'm like, they essentially operate the same way. You're working with layers the same way. You're working with transparencies the same way. You're working with color, essentially. They're very similar softwares. And then I think once I kind of looked at it the way I looked at Photoshop, that kind of taught me a lot more. And now it's like I want to get to a point where I don't need to hire anyone for any VFX shot. Like I want to be able to master anything I can visually,
My goal is that in 1 year you are railing against iMovie. With great anger and upset, and like you after like 10 seconds of ranting, you're like unable to continue. I'm just saying. I'm putting that out there, and that's.
You want me off the iMovie? You know what though? You know what? I will say this: they do 4K.
Fuck. Okay.
That's hard to get me off that, but maybe one day I'll be off the iMovie
someday. I can't give any spoilers. But for the next project.
Yes.
Speaking of no spoilers,
yes.
What can you tell the people about the finale of Blame without any spoilers?
Without any spoilers. Well, I mean,
is that even possible?
It begins with I do a previously on, and it kind of sums up all.
Yes, that's a great thing to do.
It starts with the previously on. It sums up kind of all the last 6 episodes for anyone who's just forgotten, like, oh yeah, that's right, that's what happened, and it catches them all up, and then so when the episode starts, you hopefully are you all caught up and you remember where we are, and then it's just kind of taking care of all the unfinished shit that episodes 1 through 6 left us with, and it ties everything in. And it's a finale I've been working on for a while, and I'm very, very pleased with how the story has folded upon itself and how it ends. I feel like everyone has the perfect ending at the end of it. That doesn't necessarily mean that everyone has a happy ending, but I feel like that everyone has the ending that's right for them. And I feel like a good show ends on that note, where just all the characters are taken care of. That's all we watch TV shows for, is the characters.
Right, and yeah.
And
their story is taken care of.
That their story is taken care
justice,
of. Yeah. And I'm a very, very... you and I both are big connoisseurs of good television, and we respect good story writing. And I think that when I watch the last episode of anything, I look for certain things. I want to make sure all the major players were mentioned, and that or at least acknowledged, that we kind of know how everything closed out with them. And I want to make sure that,
or not. Go ahead.
Or right. And I just want to make sure everyone has the best. And spoiler alert for any Office people out there. If you haven't seen the last episode now, I don't know. Maybe just plug your ears.
Click forward 10 seconds.
Creed, when he goes to jail at the end of it, I thought that was perfect. It's a horrible ending for Creed. But, I mean, of course he has to go to jail at some point. I think that's what... I hope that's how people see this episode. I hope they watch it, and I hope they're happy at the end of it for all the right reasons.
Nice.
But nice. I don't know. I've gotten really high and watched edits of it and gone like, oh, they're gonna think this at the end. They're gonna not like the ending for this reason. But then I speculate and I dwell negatively a lot. I think
you're an anxious person. I think too much.
Well, I just want to make sure that people are happy with it, because it's like, well, are they going to stick around on the channel for what's to come out? I think the finale in many ways has the same burden that the pilot does. The finale kind of is asking the audience, do you want to stick around? And I think that if you end a series on good content, people want to maybe see what's out. Now, this could just be me talking out my ass, but I think that you want to end on a good note because you want to leave them with a good taste in their mouth for whatever work you have. It's only a favor to the work you have afterward, And so, and I think this does. I think this episode lives up to. I think it lives up to it's worth the wait. And I think that
having seen the content on the page to come, I think it does. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's been fun to cut together. I think everyone's performance is really good. My dad is in it.
So many good people are in it, and everyone is loving making it.
Yeah,
such a good energy.
It's been. This one has by far the most actors in it. Everyone's kind of just about everyone is back in this one for at least a few lines. Because I think that the show's strongest element is how we live briefly in the story arcs of all these disconnected characters. And so I kind of wanted to,
Yeah, it's like you have such a huge and expansive world that anyone who lives in it like touches so many interesting things.
Yeah, and it's a world that I very much feel a part of. It's almost real in my head because I knew where I wanted this series to end. I knew where from a very long time ago. Like I knew a lot of the stuff that happens in the last episode is stuff that I've been letting sit in the back of my mind for a very long time, for years. And so it's.
I at least know about the last 6 months / year.
Well, yeah. So I came up. Well, I came up with the idea for the series on an airplane flight back from Puerto Rico. I went to a vacation there for Christmas or around Christmas. When did?
Hell yeah, dog!
Somewhere
Christmas.
around then. And I just remember on the way back home. On the flight, I pulled out my laptop, and I rarely ever work on my flights. I always bring my laptop and tell myself I'm going to, but for some reason when I'm on a flight, I don't feel like working. I feel like focusing on everything else. Like I have massive, like my childhood ADD is just blossoming again.
That's hilarious.
Right?
I feel the same way.
Right? It's something about being in an airplane. I don't want to work.
It's rare that I'm like power in and do like a nice 6-hour sesh. Like
right. But this time I did. And I think because I never do that, I rarely ever focus on an airplane on work. When I am genuinely interested and I pull out my laptop and I start writing, it's a very special moment for me because in that moment I realize, holy shit, I'm working effortlessly. Mm-hmm. I took out my laptop without drilling myself to. That means I'm excited about what I'm doing.
For sure.
And that means it's almost like a sign. Just run with it until the music dies in your head. You know what I mean? And so I don't know what sparked me to write this series, but something on that flight like gave me, I must have been like sifting through movies on there or something like that, but somehow I got this idea to do like a apocalypse thing, and so we landed, and I think all I had written was just like a concept of just blame having to. I knew there was a nuclear explosion. I knew the world, because I had to think to myself, how would I do the end of the world? And I remember that in LA, and this is so fucked up, but I remember that the fires had just happened, and there was burnt land everywhere for miles and miles in California, in northern and southern California. There's just black, and it looked like nukes had gone off.
It was startling as an Angelino to see, and as a Californian to see all these places just flattened by fire.
It's especially if they're places that
Californian places flattened by fire.
Well, there were places in Miami there's a place that we filmed at constantly.
It's like, we've been there. That's
the western town that we used to film at was part of that. Anyways, the fact of the matter is we everything was charred, and it just looked like the apocalypse. The buildings that were still, like parts of them were still standing. It just looked like every movie you've seen where they describe the apocalypse. And what's funny is that we never even ended up using any of that. But I think that's partly what greenlit the idea in my head, was that, the apocalypse, I have, we live by all these miles of fields that have been like caught on fire, and they look, they're hiking trails. So there's no fences or anyone stopping you from going out there, and they're empty because no one wants to be walking out there. Yeah. So it's like we would have essentially a post-apocalyptic, post-nuclear war setting. And I thought, okay, now I have to do a series about the end of the world, because this shit's going to grow back in like 6 months, and it's not going to look like that. And what's funny is that I got so into the series, I got so obsessed with it, that I actually took the time to like to find places that looked apocalyptic rather than going to these natural settings. I found junkyards, and I found various film studios that had destroyed half destroyed cars, and
got all the right spots.
I got all the right spots, but it's funny because I never ended up needing the nature area. In fact, The place that I was going to use was at the very end of episode 3 when Blame lands in 63, and by then all of it had grown back so much to the point where the shot, it actually looks very lush. It looks like I land in a green field with blue skies, and you wouldn't think that was the same exact hiking trail that I was planning on shooting for right after the fires happened, because it looked like everything was all black. So it's crazy how fast it all grew back, very, very quickly. But
it was crazy.
But yeah, I think that it was a mixture between thinking of an end of the world series and then realizing how possible it was because of the charred area. Those two things combined, I think, was what sparked it in my head, going, fuck yeah, like that's what the series is going to be. Because up until and everything I've done on the channel has been very almost like workplace oriented, kind of. It's a lot of it has to do with or common life, like simple, Sam in his house, magic fun.
Yeah.
So I never have done anything sci-fi or cataclysmic end of the world type situation, and so or just anything epic I've never done. I like the genre bending.
Yeah, for sure.
Go
ahead.
I was just going to say, I hope that whatever I work on next is is vastly different than this.
I was going to say, what kind of plane rides you've been taking on? What's been going on on your most recent trip?
I have
when you're in the shower. Describe to us what happens in the shower, Brandon.
Well, that's not where my ideas come. My idea, where they come. Every morning I get high and I go for a walk to my gym. And I work off the high, and then I walk back sober. So I have a nice walk with some music, stoned. I have a good workout, and then I have a sober walk back to my apartment. And it provides me with several different mindsets to be thinking about whatever I'm writing. It allows me to think, just like on the walk there, I like to create scenes in my head. Then on the way back, I like to dissect them and edit them almost. And then I think it's very therapeutic. Yeah. So, I don't know. I do that every day. Yeah, but not the shower. The shower's not where the ideas come to me. No.
All right. Dang. I tried to get it in there. Yeah, but
it didn't work.
Sorry, everyone.
Hiking a lot. Hiking brings ideas. Because I don't know. I don't know what it is about hiking, but I just like to think.
Because you masturbate on your hikes.
Yeah. As I hike. Oh my gosh. Well, I sincerely hope that whatever it is going for, I know that I'm going to be doing a lot of standalone videos over the summer, a lot of one-off sketches, but whatever it is going forward, I'm just going to have fun with it, and I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm going to do whatever feels right for the universe.
Well, heck yeah. Looking forward to it, man.
Yeah. And Jonathan, thank you again so much for dinner tonight. Because that was a fucking
course.
Bomb chicken. One of the best chickens I've ever had in years.
I'm so glad you liked it.
Yes, it was great. Probably the best chicken I ever had in my life.
Damn.
But I have to think for a while. I'll let you know.
Yeah. Confirmed to be confirmed.
All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed the Blame the Hero finale. Comes out on June 30th, Sunday, June 30th. So I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you enjoy life until then. I hope you have a great week, and the weather should be good in most places on the United States right now. So for those of you in a good weather place, get outside, stop listening to this horse shit. I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.